So this one's basically going to go the same as the power rankings, you know, like I'll tell you my thought process with some things, and obviously I'll cringe a lot of the time. That's about all you really need to know. Let's get it.
Let us begin with the winners of the East and Western
Oh, no, no,
conferences.
no.
Sadly, I don't have any hot takes here. I have the Dragons winning the East and the Shock winning the West.
Half right, Pog Champ. Got the Dragons right, got the easy one right, but Shock finished 4th in their conference, so big yikes.
I'm going to play it safe here. These are the two teams who stand out the most in their respective conferences for me.
On paper, the Shock should have, but no.
The Dragons have a very stacked roster going for themselves. Besides a slight downgrade at main tank potentially, the team appears to be stronger than ever. They have one of the deepest rotations in the league. The tanks are versatile, the DPS have certain things they're all going to specialize in and be effective on, and their supports are equipped to play just about any combination at the highest level. They're well-rounded and full of superstar talent, and let's not forget about their top-tier coaching either. If this team doesn't pick up where they left off, then I'm going to be completely caught off guard.
Hey, you weren't caught off guard. They were good. What the thing with the Shock, though, is if they could have just made, like, half of the tournaments, like, they maybe could have had a shot at finishing top in the conference, you know? Maybe if they, like, won a tournament, got, like, second in another one. But no. They're bad in terms of regular season tournament performance.
They feel stronger than any other roster in Asia to me. As for the Shock, well, it's more of the same essentially. I understand that the Shock have yet to come in first place in their division before, but they are the strongest on paper still. There's that and the fact that they're coming off back-to-back championships. That helps a lot too. Breaking down their roster, they boast the strongest support lineup in the league. Let's call it how it is. Someone of Twilight's caliber probably coming off the...
No. As I was just talking about in the power rankings, FD God and Violet just didn't work out that well, unfortunately.
Bench is absolutely horrifying. At tank, you got Super, Smurf, and Choi, who give you a lot of coverage and, of course, a lot of consistency.
True.
And don't be sleeping on the DPS. They're still very dangerous.
They had their moments.
And Rascal may be gone, but Striker is definitely still there to lead the way and
Sag.
hold down the fort, and Glister has a lot of promise himself. Just imagine what he can do now that he has access to better resources and teammates for that matter. He was already a lethal sniper in 2020, and knowing the Shock, he's probably going to take that next step towards becoming a superstar player.
That's a good question, Superior. Yeah, sometimes it's weird. Sometimes just listening to my voice, like, editing videos and, just watching back things like this, it could be a little weird, and sometimes I kind of just find my voice annoying, but that's just how it is. I feel like most people would agree that's kind of how it's like when you listen to yourself back. It's a little strange. What do I have to do for you to predict Shock first in the 2022 season in my YouTube video? A lot. I don't know if I'm going to put them first. Not going to happen, probably. Did Dallas win the West? Yes, they did.
As for the flex DPS situation, I think that both Nero and Tayo could also make valuable contributions.
Tayo.
I expect that Striker and Glister will be the main stars of the show. These are the two teams I have the least number of questions about. They're two of the best possible teams to predict. They should consistently have a leg up over a fair amount of their competition. Now let's talk about the final four of the playoffs. It's very hard to tell given how many solid teams there are this year.
This one's going to be bad.
But I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say it will be the Shock, Dragons, Justice, and Mayhem.
Yeah, oh no. Mayhem and Justice did not sniff top four. The Mayhem didn't even make the playoffs, which, to be fair, I think most people would find surprising, because, I think most people would assume the Mayhem would have made the play-ins at the very least, but they didn't even make that, which is kind of wild. This Justice one, they made playoffs, but they weren't good. They didn't even win any games. The Shock technically finished in the Final Four, I think, right? Because they played Atlanta in the losers semis, right? Didn't they? Or did the Glads play them in the losers semis? Which was it? Hang on, I'm just double checking. Because I thought the Shock played Atlanta in loser semis, right? Wait, no, that's not what I gotta find. Where is it? Where's the playoff bracket? Playoff bracket. Yeah, they did. Okay, so I got half of them. 50% win rate. Easy clap.
Given my predictions on the previous question, I think the Shock and the Dragons were pretty obvious, and I already made it clear why I think they're going to be successful this year. So let's talk about the other two. So the Justice, in my opinion, have what it takes to make a very deep playoff run. They feel incredibly dangerous. When the playoffs come around, I get the feeling that guys like Decay, their new rookie Mag, and Fury are going to come alive.
Nope. There's nothing they could do. That team was a mess. All I think of when they made the playoffs was that C9 against Dallas. That's all I can think of.
All shown they can be clutch performers when it truly matters throughout their careers. This team has high expectations and they're hungry to prove themselves. So long as everybody does their job, they're going to go very far.
If only they all did their jobs.
But of course, as I've already mentioned before here on this channel, the one worry I definitely still have is with the support line because both Closer and Bebe on paper are not all that appealing, but something tells me they'll probably do enough.
Nope, they did enough to make playoffs?
Just could go on a sick playoff run with Arc and Aim God. I see no reason at all why they couldn't do the same with Closer and Bebe.
Forehead.
It's not like the formula is going to change. Invest in Decay and the tanks and watch them go to work. I'm also just a massive fan of their coaching because I think their strategy in general...
Yeah, the coaching, they just, I don't know. They had a good reputation, I feel like, coming into the league, but it just wasn't there.
Understanding of the game is greater than most. Then there's Florida, which is easily the spiciest prediction I have on here, and I have no confidence in this guess whatsoever.
Yeah, you shouldn't have even put them here, bud.
Is literally all it is. It's just a guess. I don't really have any absolute evidence to say that they're going to make it over a bunch of other teams in the league. This is just me and some sort of random gut feeling I have that probably won't come true.
It definitely did not, so good job. You're right in that sense.
Because I'll be honest, putting them over the likes of Philly, the Gladiators, or even Dallas could definitely raise some question marks for some. But honestly, I really do think in a way Florida could be that good despite this just being a pure guess, because they are very capable. Despite my potential...
On paper, they're capable, but that's about all.
Worries about OG and the team being unable to adapt in the clutch, I have a lot of faith that they can break their limits eventually. If they're willing to give OG a chance, maybe I should too. I'm hoping they can learn from their mistakes and show some improvement as a roster. They're a very talented and motivated group with some very sick coaching. My bold, but way too early prediction is that they get hot at the right time. Maybe the meta gets in their favor. Maybe an upset or two happens along the way as well. I trust in the main.
I mean, they certainly got upset a couple of times with some of those losses.
A few strides this year. I really don't think they have it in them to make it to the grand finals or anything crazy like that, but this is still a great step in the right direction. It'll mark a year of improvement that shows they should be around for years to come.
The exact opposite, in fact. First off, their team no longer exists. They have a new team, but also they did not improve, and they missed the playoffs altogether. So no improvement whatsoever, and they don't even exist anymore. Great take. Great, fantastic take.
Next up is who will win the Season 4 Grand Finals. I'm sorry to say it, but I once again see the Shock pulling off the three-peat.
Sorry, Shock fans, because I jinxed ya. Jinxed ya hard.
As much as I want to see somebody else win it, this just feels like it's destined to happen.
Oh, it most certainly was not.
Pray to the Overwatch gods I'm wrong here, but it does not look good because their chances seem pretty high to me. They have all of the necessary tools to pull this off. They have the star power, the deep roster, the potential, the championship experience, and the coaching. Do I think they're an absolute lock to win it all? Of course not. There's some very scary teams with massive potential out there.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they definitely weren't a lock. Oh, I'm doing well, Keon. My Christmas was well. I hope it was good for you, too, if you celebrate Christmas.
I could totally see the Dragons or maybe one of the other top NA teams pulling it off. Getting hot at the right time is something this league has seen in all 3 years of the playoffs.
And I mean, the Shock were getting hot. It's just, they ran into a better team with Atlanta.
London pulled it off in the inaugural season. The Shock did it in Season 2 after their loss to Atlanta. And while they didn't win the title, the Dynasty still made it to the Grand Finals. Sometimes we have teams simply come out of nowhere. With unknown factors aside though, if we're going off clear-cut favorites, the Shock are one of the top options. Now on to the regular season.
Yeah, that one was rough. I mean, I give myself a little bit of a pass there because I feel like most people are like, it's going to be like the Shock or like, the Dragons. There was only a couple teams most people were arguing as like the favorites to win the title. So it's whatever. This one, though, this one sucks.
MVP. What I really want to do is go with a tank like Void or some other promising player, but it feels unrealistic to see them win this particular award. We've seen 2 damage dealers and 1 support win the award overall. And sure, Sinatra won because of his Zarya and everything, but that was only because GOATS was a must-pick composition for about 50% of the year, if not more. Regardless of who deserves it the most, the flashy players are the ones who usually win, I feel like. So with that in mind, I predict that Decay takes home MVP.
My Justice hope was so crazy. Good night, Math. Thanks for stopping by the stream. I saw what Decay did in Season 3 at the end, and I'm like, okay, he's going to ball out, right? It seems like destiny. He's going to play so well. He's going to play his Tracer. He's going to do his thing. But I did not foresee the Justice being so inconsistent and, lacking in confidence and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's just how it goes, though.
Unless something terribly wrong occurs, this feels like his
Yeah, something did go terribly wrong.
year to take the league by storm. When he actually played last year, he hard carried on the regular. Now imagine him playing that well, or maybe even better, but for the entire season plus potential tournaments. And his performances will probably feel even more meaningful considering that it's way more likely to come in a winning effort because of the team around him. Forget about the number 1 DPS player. He seriously might end up being the best player, period.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close. He wasn't even a consideration. I don't think Decay is as bad as some people made him out to be. Statistically, he was good, and I think he had a lot of good moments on Tracer and stuff, but to say he was MVP level would just be, wrong. Straight up wrong. He was not there. Part of it was, his team not really playing that well, but obviously he could have done more as well.
I'm expecting the Justice to win a lot of games, largely because of his ability to perform in the clutch. He's got a Tracer, he's got a Widow, a McCree, all of the hit skins of your dreams, and the general flexibility. The hype surrounding this guy could be greater than it's ever been before. Engaging from previous years, the MVP award tends to be largely based on things like popularity and hype. Decay could be a prime candidate if previous years tell us anything at all. Moving on to Rookie of the Year, this award does not feel so clear-cut. Last year, it kind of felt like a lot of...
See, for some reason, I thought that I had Mag for sure, but the fact that I said it's not clear-cut makes me feel a bit better about not getting this one right.
People already saw Alarm winning the award coming because he's an absolute monster. This time around, though, the race could be a bit tighter. There's a lot of pretty viable picks out there, but the guy I plan to go with is none other than Mag. I know it may...
Yeah, again, too much Justice hype. Too much. In all fairness, though, Mag was, a top prospect. It was like him and Pelican for 95% of the fan base, but Mag just seemed like the most, bona fide, amazing main tank, the most league-ready player at his position. So this felt like a pretty easy one to me, either him or, Pelican, but I just felt like Mag was the right choice. I thought he was going to be a top main tank right from day one, and while he was good, the Justice were just very inconsistent. He didn't have his greatest moments at times, and, Pelican just outplayed him. He straight up did. And I don't even know if Mag was number 2 for me because I really liked Shy as well. But then again, I feel like Mag probably, found more success. Shy had a lot of great moments, but I feel like the hype maybe died down a bit after the first half of the year. But Shy was really good too. So Mag was probably top 3 in the Rookie of the Year race, but definitely not number 1.
It feel annoying for some of you to see the Justice be a part of so many categories, but to me, it really does feel like their year. In my opinion, Mag is the most pro-ready player from this rookie class.
Like I was saying,
he's already incredibly proven in high-pressure scenarios, and thanks to all of that gameplay we have of him.
Oh, I forgot about Skewed as well. That's right. You could argue Skewed as well was better than Mag.
On Runaway, we know that he possesses a rather diverse hero pool. In my opinion, he's definitely not perfect. I think there could be some metas where he's maybe a bit less effective than he could be, but generally speaking,
I mean, there were at times the rush didn't look great at the beginning of the year, at least. So, hey.
He likely does have what it takes to keep pace with even the top main tanks in the game. I have a ton of confidence in this dude. The pros regard him highly already, the analysts all think he's great, he's got a top tier coaching staff, and he'll have one of the best tank partners in the world. The only things that could really stop him at this point are himself, well duh, obviously, and mediocre support play.
Yeah, definitely didn't have a great time with mediocre support play, yeah. Oh yeah, Piggy too. You could argue Piggy over Mag and Gaga. I'd say Mag was arguably top 5 though for rookies.
Argue he's receiving the most hype for a rookie main tank since Gushue. There's a lot of pressure on him to perform, but if there's a young player who has shown he can come up big when he needs to, it's Mag. Before moving forward, a few honorable mentions go out to Gaga, Pelican, League, and Guangboon.
I put Liege in there. Oh my god. And Guangboon. Oh lord. Yikes.
If Mag is not the one to win this award, I suspect that one of those 4 have a strong chance
I mean, Pelican, yeah.
of taking it home instead. Question 6. Who will be the most improved player?
Okay, this is probably one of the better takes I had with this one, I feel like.
Important to note about this particular question is that I'm strictly talking about the improvement of a player from Season 3 to Season 4. If they were not in the league in 2020, they're not eligible. For example, that means I don't really count Yakpung, even though it would be really cool to see a redemption story and all. When it comes to last year's players, there's a few guys I could see showing a serious level up, kind of like what BQB showcased. The obvious one is probably Glister. He was really good on London, but he could end up becoming an absolute monster under the San Francisco system.
How about the story with that? Remember when a lot of people were like, oh, Glister's going to be so good on the Shock? Me included. Like, I thought he was going to be a beast. But, he was fine. But maybe not what people were expecting. Some people were saying he was going to be, like, MVP of the league. Like, just crazy stuff.
Or maybe a veteran like Erster could be the winner. He was poorly utilized on Atlanta during Season 3 and has a chance to look a lot more like his old self now that he's playing on Shanghai. But the player I actually decided to go with is Leave.
I feel like some people thought this was a dumb take at the time because Leave wasn't really bad in Season 3. But I just thought he was going to show more. He was going to show us more of what he showed, like, pre-Overwatch League. And that's kind of what he did, to be honest. Well, not even kind of. It is what he did. He won MVP. Like, there was a drastic increase in production.
If we're being honest, his impact was not out of this world during Season 3. I wouldn't say he was awful, but he kind of played below expectations up until Chengdu's resurgence towards the end of the year.
That's true, I guess.
Once the team around him started to play better, he really started popping off. Now that the Hunters have made a lot of improvements to the roster, he might be able to turn into a dominant superstar that many people envisioned him to become right from day one.
Well, there you go. That's actually not a bad take. The dude won MVP. He was a role star. He was a top tier DPS. Not bad. Not bad past ATP. Not bad. First good take of your life. Congratulations.
Leaf had Rookie of the Year levels of expectations last year. I'm very much banking on a redemption story where he consistently plays the way many of us expected him to back in his rookie year.
Nice.
He's such a talented individual. The fact that he can be effective as a hit scan and projectile is truly amazing.
And that's what he was. I mean, he played all sorts of different things. And he was good on all of those things.
His flexibility and diverse hero pool could make him a great option for the Hunters no matter what the meta calls for. With some newly added star power and RUI back in control, Leaf possesses the tools necessary to output a solid comeback year. Alright, but what
Wow. I'm actually really happy with that one. It rivals how happy I was with last year's Shanghai Power Rankings take in 2020. Like this, I'm genuinely so proud of myself for actually getting something like this right. The dude won MVP. Like, yeah, there are other people who improved, but I feel like going from, like, non-role star, like, like not super relevant to MVP is a pretty large jump. So I'm pretty happy with that one.
What about the most improved team? Well, there's quite a few options out there.
Oh,
depend on the final outlook of the
it's time for another terrible justice take incoming.
Standings. I think a team like Boston, for example, could be in a good position to win this award depending on how they play. If they could go from like 20th place to almost top half of the league or even top 10, that would be a pretty noticeable improvement, and I would maybe give them the award. With how stacked the Gladiators are on paper, they could probably win it too. To go from mediocre to a potential title contender would be a really big jump. But once again, I find myself going with none other than the Washington Justice. I know,
Yep.
really boring stuff, but I
Really boring and incorrect.
can't help myself here. They finished in 19th place last year, and now they're being regarded as a top 8 or better team in most people's eyes.
I mean, like, okay, so the Justice were improved. I mean, it's not like a garbage can take. It's just, I don't know if they're necessarily the most improved. Going from, like, how many wins was it? Like 2 wins, 4 wins, whatever it was, to 9, and, making the playoffs. That's a nice jump. That's a pretty nice jump. But you also have to think about some of these other teams. Like, think about how much Dallas improved, going from a mediocre team to a title contender, 3rd place in the playoffs. The Atlanta Reign, again, mediocre to grand finals runner-ups. Gladiators, mediocre to a top team in North America. Chengdu, pretty, average to below average team to 2nd best in APAC. There's just so many, superior options. Houston Outlaws, think about the Houston Outlaws as well. They weren't good at all last year, and now look at them. They went 11-5. They went 11-5 and were 1 map away from making the playoffs. So, when you think of all those factors, the Justice definitely were not a top option, I feel like.
That type of jump would be absolutely insane if it ends up happening. If they play up to their potential, they are frontrunners for this award 100%. Say what you will about them making a playoff push at the end of last year, but when you analyze their season as a whole, they were terrible for 90+% of it, plus they wouldn't have made the playoffs to begin with if COVID did not strike.
Excuse me, I forgot what I was going to say. If they had won a few more games, the Justice, I feel like it would have been a better take, but the fact that they only went 9-7, it's for my NFL fans out there, that's like a mediocre, wild card playoff team if you go 9-7. That's what I associate with 9-7, so that makes me not think of them as most improved.
They're giving me heavy 2020 Florida Mayhem vibes right now. Those guys finished the year on a good note in Stage 4 of 2019 with a 4-3 record, then made some good strides during the offseason. The Justice are practically in the same position here. What's more is that they have a chance to make even greater improvements thanks to the promise of their tank line and DPS line. The Justice feel like a no-brainer to me given how dangerous they feel. Not for the question with the most...
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a no-brainer. Is Mumo retired as a player to be a coach permanently? I'm not too sure.
Possible creativity. What or who will be the biggest surprise of the season? What I love about this question is that it could be something positive or negative. There's really no limit here. My imagination, though, well, it's not extremely wild. I'm going to keep mine pretty basic. My biggest surprise of Season 4 belongs to the Boston Uprising, and
yeah, I mean, I feel like this was a bold take to begin with. I mean, they definitely did improve. They were pretty bad in Season 3. But they only won 7 games. It's not like a ginormous jump. They went from terrible to, average.
I mean it in a good way. I genuinely do believe that some, not all, but some people are hard sleeping on them. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be pushing for a top spot in the standings, but they could end up being a real challenge for a lot of their opponents in North America.
Fair enough,
They
King.
are expected to go places this year, and that's what makes them scary. They could put a lot of pressure on the teams that are expected to beat them, which could lead to quite a few upsets along the way. They are not getting enough credit because there is so much latent potential within this group. People like I'm 37, Valentine, Myungbong, and Faith could make for an absolutely nutty core. And don't forget their young off-tank prospect, Gabe Bolsey, on their academy team who could get promoted at any given moment. And they're all under the care of Lori, who could be one of the best coaches in the league right from day one. Boston seriously might sneak up on the general fan base, which definitely does outnumber those of the hardcore status.
See you later, alexyOWL. Will I react to my community predictions? Probably not, because I don't know. I don't really feel right laughing at other people's takes. I'd rather just laugh at my own.
Now for the final question of this video. Who wins Coach of the Year? I figured I might as well ask...
Oh, this is another bad one. I just remembered who I picked for this. This is a bad one.
One into the mix if the league gave it out last year. This one can be...
Oh, wait, in terms of the other question, though, most surprising team, I'd say probably, if we're going off a negative thing, probably Florida Mayhem. Because they were expected to at least make play-ins, and they missed the cut. They won 5 games, they were genuinely just not very good, and people thought they'd be, right where they were last year, a decent team, or above average. In terms of other surprises... Let me think. Paris. Paris Eternal, also a pretty surprising team. Most people thought they'd be pretty meh, and they won 8 games and kind of really pushed a lot of teams to their limits and won some pretty impressive matches. Houston Outlaws, very surprising. I mean, even like the hardcore Outlaws fans probably didn't see them being this good. The Atlanta Reign, they're probably a bit surprising for some people. Like, I know some people thought they'd be good. Like, some people were putting a lot more faith in them than me, but not many people thought they were going to make second place overall in the league, grand finals runner-ups. That's just about it, though. I think those are probably the most surprising teams that I'd put over Boston, for sure.
Tough because there is a wealth of amazing coaches out there. But the thing is, I feel like this award likely just goes out to whoever reaches the top of the standings. If one team is clearly the most dominant during the regular season, their victory is practically guaranteed. However, I also feel that voting fatigue plays a factor in this. This could just be me, but I feel like the more well-established coaches that people always talk about are going to be less likely to win it. In other words, people are looking for fresh new faces to vote for. That's kind of what I've learned throughout my years of being a sports fan. It happens all the time. Last year, Coach Moon made sense because it was all about Krusty before then. Plus, the Dragons were insanely good. But now that the Dragons are dominant, that makes his likelihood of winning it go down as well.
True.
So you know what? I'm going to go with Kooky as my coach of the year.
Yikes. Again, because I thought Florida were going to be better. They just weren't. They weren't good.
I firmly believe Florida is in for another successful campaign. He was definitely one of the runner-ups last year, and if they can maybe do a little bit better than last year, all while finding success with 2 new starters, that would be enough for me at least. Florida genuinely have a chance to be one of the top teams in North America, if not the entire league. If they can pull it off with 2 new starters and a minimal 7-man roster, that would be insanely impressive. This year could be
I mean, that would have been impressive if they were anywhere near that level of hype you put on them.
quite challenging for the Mayhem. If they overcome it, Kooky is going to look like a genius.
But they didn't, and they actually had more problems than anyone could have imagined. Yeah, I'm in a lot of pain right now.
Some of the other potential Coach of the Year candidates outside of Moon and Krusty, in my opinion, are Rush,
Hey, I gave Rush an honorable mention at least. Not far off.
NK, Supreme, Lori, KDG,
Supreme, oh lord. Supreme and Kooky in here. What a party.
Why Not of the NYXL, or
NYXL?
maybe if
Why not? I mean, Deepay's not horrible, but wow.
the Gladiator show improvement. I have doubts about Deepay winning it, but you never know. This is going to be a really tight race. Expect the standings and tournament outcomes to play a major role in the decision-making process.
I mean, they kind of did, right? I mean, with the way Dallas played at, like, supposed, like, disadvantages? Yeah, they kind of did play a role, like, with May and June and all that stuff. Dallas not having a real, like, true dedicated hit scan. You know, overcoming that with other unique strategies and stuff. I mean, you weren't wrong about how they're going to dictate the award ATP, past ATP. You were just very wrong about the person that you picked.
And on that note, we're officially done with all of the questions.
There you go. So most of these takes were pretty bad. I mean, I had Shanghai and the Shock making the Final Four. Not bad there. I had the Dragons winning the conference in APAC, so we got that right. My leave prediction of him being most improved was fairly spot on, but everything else was really, really bad. Everything else was trash, and I have nothing else to say, and I'm ashamed of myself for being so dumb. Just kidding. It's all for fun anyway. All in good fun. But yeah, that's basically everything I have. That was pretty cringe, but we got through it, and it makes for some good Pepe laughs. You guys get to just laugh at me and have a good time. That's all that matters, right? Hope you enjoyed.